We live in a world where being liked feels like the highest currency. From social media likes to the approval of friends, colleagues, even strangers, we're conditioned to believe that the more people who like us, the more valuable we are. And when it comes to love, this pressure only intensifies. We think, if I can just be the person everyone finds attractive, agreeable, and easy to be around, then I'll finally find the relationship I want. But here's the problem in the pursuit of being liked by everyone. We often lose the one thing that makes true love possible, our authenticity. Because love isn't about impressing a crowd. It isn't about being universally adored. It's about connection. And real connection can only happen when two people meet as their real, unfiltered selves. The truth is, being disliked isn't just inevitable. It's necessary. If you never risk rubbing someone the wrong way, you're not showing the world who you really are. And if you hide the parts of yourself that might not be everyone's cup of tea, then the love you attract will always feel conditional, fragile, and shallow. So today, I want to talk about why being disliked is not only okay, it's the key to finding real love. Because when you let go of the need to be liked by everyone, you make space for the right person to see, appreciate, and love the real you. When we think about love, most of us immediately fall into the trap of wanting to be liked. It starts small. Maybe on a first date, you say yes to a restaurant you don't actually enjoy, or you nod along to a story even though you don't find it funny, all because you want to keep the other person interested. You don't want to risk that moment of disapproval, that slight raise of an eyebrow, or the awkward silence that could come if you just admitted, actually, I don't agree with that. On the surface, it feels harmless. You're being agreeable, easy to be around, pleasant. But what's really happening beneath the surface is that you're editing yourself out of the picture. Each little compromise on your truth, each small silence when you wanted to speak, each smile when you didn't mean it, these become the building blocks of a version of you that is not real. And when that's the version of you someone likes, what they're drawn to isn't you, it's a mask. The fear of being disliked is deeply human. We're wired to belong to a tribe, to seek acceptance, because historically, rejection could mean being cast out and left vulnerable. That ancient instinct is still alive in us today. But in modern relationships, that instinct can become a prison. When we let the fear of disapproval dictate how we show up, we essentially say, I'd rather be tolerated for who I'm not than risk being rejected for who I am. And that choice quietly erodes the possibility of finding real love. Because real love doesn't happen when someone admires the mask you wear. It happens when someone sees your flaws, your quirks, your truth, and chooses you anyway. Think about it. If your whole relationship is built on pleasing someone, then love becomes conditional. It becomes a constant performance. You're always asking yourself, what do they want me to say right now? How do they want me to act? What would make them like me more? Instead of living your truth, you're living a script you think they'll enjoy. But at some point, that script runs out. At some point, the real you will leak through the cracks, and that's when the entire illusion collapses. The person you've been trying so hard to impress realizes that the agreeable, ever-smiling version of you isn't the whole story. And because you never gave them the chance to fall in love with the authentic you, they don't know if they actually love you at all. What's even worse is the toll this takes on your own sense of self. Every time you silence your truth to keep someone's affection, you send yourself a message, who I am isn't enough. That message is poisonous. It chips away at your self-worth, making you more dependent on external validation. And the more validation you seek, the more you compromise. It's a vicious cycle, one that leaves you exhausted, anxious, and disconnected not just from others, but from yourself. Now, here's the paradox. The very thing you're most afraid of, being disliked, is actually the gateway to real love. Why? Because when you allow yourself to be disliked, you're finally free to be authentic. You no longer need to carry the burden of being universally pleasing. You can speak your truth, share your boundaries, express your desires, and let your personality shine in all its imperfect, unique glory. And yes, that will mean some people won't like you. Some will find your opinions too strong, your humor not to their taste, your values misaligned with theirs. But those people are not meant for you anyway. Their rejection isn't a failure, it's a gift. It clears the path for the people who are meant for you to recognize and connect with you. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. If your goal is to be liked by every single person there, you'll water yourself down until you're bland enough not to offend anyone. But in doing so, you'll also be bland enough not to inspire anyone. On the other hand, if you walk into that room committed to being your full self, your humor, your energy, your stories, your quirks, you might turn some people off, but the ones who resonate with you will feel it deeply. They'll feel a spark of connection because they're not connecting with a mask, they're connecting with the real you. And that's how relationships are born, not from being liked by everyone, but from being truly seen by the right ones. The fear of being disliked often disguises itself as politeness, as keeping the peace, as being easygoing. But deep down, it's a form of dishonesty, and dishonesty kills intimacy. If you can't tell someone that their joke offended you, if you can't admit you don't like sushi when they suggest going to a sushi bar, if you can't say you want commitment instead of casual fun, you're not giving them the chance to know you. And if they don't know you, how can they ever really love you? Being authentic requires courage. It requires the willingness to let people walk away. It requires sitting with the discomfort of knowing that someone might not approve, might not like you, might not choose you. But that courage is what makes space for real love. Because when you stand in your truth, the person who chooses you is choosing the real you. And that love, unlike the kind built on performance, has the power to last. So the next time you catch yourself wanting to be liked at all costs, pause. Ask yourself, am I being liked for who I am or for who I'm pretending to be? Remember that the goal isn't universal approval. The goal is alignment. The goal is connection. The goal is to find the person who sees your truth and says, yes, that's what I want. And the only way to give them that chance is by risking being disliked. It's ironic, isn't it? The very thing we spend our lives trying to avoid, the sting of disapproval, is the same thing that makes love real. Because love isn't born out of being everything to everyone. Love is born out of the courage to be yourself, even when that means some people won't like it. And when you embrace that truth, you stop chasing affection and start attracting love. Rejection is one of the scariest words in human experience, yet it's also one of the most powerful teachers when it comes to love. Most people think of rejection as failure. They assume that if someone doesn't choose them, if someone walks away, if someone says, this isn't working, it's proof that they're not good enough. But that perspective completely misses the truth. Rejection isn't a judgment on your worth. It's simply a sign that there wasn't alignment. It's a signal that the connection wasn't the right fit. And if you can shift your mindset to see rejection in this way, it becomes one of the greatest filters life gives you. Instead of seeing it as loss, you can start seeing it as protection, a way of removing the wrong people from your path so the right ones have space to arrive. Think about how many relationships you've either witnessed or perhaps been in yourself, where one person clung to someone who was never truly invested. Maybe the partner didn't want commitment, but the other person hung on, hoping they would change. Maybe the values were completely different. One wanted a family, the other didn't, but instead of facing the truth, they tried to force compatibility. Or maybe there was no respect for boundaries, and instead of leaving, they tolerated disrespect just to avoid being alone. What happens in every one of these scenarios is simple fear of rejection leads to settling. And when you settle, you invite pain into your life that only grows with time. But when you embrace rejection as a filter, you stop seeing those departures as tragedies. You start to realize that every no, every this isn't working, every ghosting or dismissal is a gift of clarity. That person's inability to love you the way you deserve is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their capacity, their readiness, or their alignment with your truth. And by them stepping aside, they're doing you a favor. They're making space for someone who is capable of meeting you where you are. It's not easy, of course. None of us enjoy rejection. It can feel like a punch to the stomach, like all your vulnerabilities have been exposed only to be dismissed. But what's far more painful than rejection is investing months or years into the wrong person. Someone who doesn't want what you want, someone who doesn't respect your boundaries, someone who doesn't truly see you. When you think about it that way, rejection is actually a shortcut. It's a way of saying, this isn't the right person, move along, save your time, save your energy. It's the universe's way of pruning your garden so that only the plants that are meant to thrive in your soil can stay. Let's take an example. Imagine you go on a date and you're being fully yourself. You share your opinions, you're upfront about what you want in a relationship, you don't sugarcoat your boundaries. The other person hears this and decides they're not interested. At first, you might feel stung. But step back and think, what really just happened? You didn't waste 6 months pretending to be casual when you actually wanted commitment. You didn't spend nights wondering if your values aligned. You didn't stay in limbo waiting for someone to figure it out. By showing up authentically and allowing rejection to happen quickly, you saved yourself from heartache. That rejection was a filter. It filtered out someone who wasn't capable of giving you what you need. Contrast that with someone who hides their truth just to avoid rejection. They go on the same date, but instead of admitting what they want, they play it cool. They laugh at jokes they don't find funny. They nod along to ideas they don't believe in. They say, "I'm fine with casual," even though their heart craves more. What happens? The relationship continues, but it continues on a lie. And months later, when the truth finally comes out, the pain is magnified tenfold because now there are emotional bonds, memories, and attachments built on falsehoods. The rejection they were so desperate to avoid ends up arriving anyway, only this time it's heavier, harder, and more devastating. This is why rejection must be reframed. Instead of fearing it, we need to embrace it. Rejection is not a door slamming in your face, it's a door redirecting you toward another path. It's not evidence that you're unworthy, it's proof that you're making space for someone who is worthy of the real you. In fact, one of the healthiest things you can do in dating is to invite rejection early. That doesn't mean being reckless or rude. It means being clear about your values, your desires, your non-negotiables. It means saying, "This is who I am, this is what I want, and this is what I don't accept." Some people won't like it, some will walk away. But those people are doing you the favor of removing themselves before they can waste more of your time. Rejection also teaches resilience. Each time you face it, you prove to yourself that you can survive it. You realize that while it's uncomfortable, it doesn't destroy you. You realize that your worth isn't dictated by someone else's decision to choose you or not. And over time, that realization builds strength. You stop approaching relationships from desperation and start approaching them from abundance. You stop thinking, "I hope they like me," and start thinking, "I hope we're aligned." That shift is everything. It changes the energy you bring into every interaction. You're no longer auditioning for someone else's approval. You're co-creating connection with them. And if it doesn't align, you're willing to walk away. The truth is, you don't need 1,000 people to like you. You don't need endless suitors or universal approval. You only need one person, the right person, to see you, value you, and choose you. And the only way that person will ever find you is if you let go of the wrong ones. Rejection then becomes the sorting mechanism that clears the path. It's not an obstacle to love. It's the very tool that guides you toward it. So the next time someone rejects you, instead of spiraling into self-doubt, try asking, "What did this rejection save me from?" Maybe it saved you from years of convincing someone to commit. Maybe it saved you from constant conflict over incompatible values. Maybe it saved you from being with someone who didn't actually appreciate you. Whatever it is, know this rejection is not your enemy. It's your ally. It's not the thing that blocks love. It's the very thing that ensures that when love arrives, it's real, it's aligned, and it's built to last. Confidence is often misunderstood. People imagine confidence as walking into a room with a big smile, perfect posture, and everyone instantly being drawn to you. While those things may look like confidence on the outside, real confidence isn't about appearances at all. It's about what happens internally when you face disapproval. True confidence is your ability to stand strong in who you are even when not everyone approves of you, even when someone criticizes you, even when you know that parts of your personality or choices won't be everyone's favorite. This is the kind of confidence that transforms your relationships, because it's the difference between needing approval to feel valuable and knowing you're valuable regardless of approval. When you're dependent on universal approval, every interaction becomes a test of your worth. If someone likes you, you feel on top of the world. If someone criticizes you, you collapse into self-doubt. You're constantly on an emotional roller coaster letting other people's opinions dictate your sense of self. That dynamic is not only exhausting, it's deeply unattractive in the long term. Why? Because people are drawn to those who seem rooted, grounded, self-assured. When you give off the sense that your entire identity is at the mercy of whether or not someone likes you, it creates an energy of insecurity, and insecurity repels what you actually want: respect, admiration, and lasting attraction. On the other hand, when you cultivate the kind of confidence that doesn't require universal approval, you send out a completely different signal. You say with your actions, "I know who I am, I know what I bring, and I don't need you to validate that for me to believe it." This doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean you don't care about other people's feelings or perspectives. It simply means that your value isn't negotiable. Someone liking or disliking you doesn't change your worth. It only reveals whether they're compatible with you or not. And that kind of groundedness is magnetic. Think about the most compelling people you've met. Often, they're not the ones who try to win everyone over. They're the ones who are unapologetically themselves. They say what they think, they laugh at their own jokes, they have passions and interests they pursue without shame, and they don't seem rattled by the idea that someone might not share their enthusiasm. That energy creates gravity. It pulls people in, and the people it doesn't pull in, they drift away, which is exactly what should happen. In love, this form of confidence is everything, because relationships are not about being adored every moment. They are about navigating differences, disagreements, and imperfections. If you don't have the confidence to withstand someone's temporary disapproval, you'll fold the moment conflict arises. You'll sacrifice your needs just to keep the peace. You'll silence your boundaries just to keep the other person happy. And over time, that erodes not only the relationship but also your self-respect. Love without confidence quickly turns into dependency. Confidence shows up in very practical ways. It's the difference between saying, "I understand you don't want a committed relationship, but that's not what I'm looking for, so I need to walk away," versus saying, "That's fine, I'll stick around and hope you change your mind." It's the difference between telling someone, "That joke makes me uncomfortable," versus laughing along just to avoid awkwardness. It's the difference between stating your boundaries with clarity and tiptoeing around them in fear of being abandoned. In each of these situations, your ability to tolerate being disliked protects you. It keeps you from abandoning yourself in order to hold on to someone else. And ironically, the more you embody this kind of confidence, the more attractive you become. People are drawn to those who know their value. It creates a sense of safety because they know you're not pretending. They know you won't collapse under the pressure of disagreement. They know you can handle conflict without losing yourself. That reliability makes people respect you more, not less. It makes your love more valuable, not cheaper. Because your affection is not a desperate plea for approval. It's a gift freely given from someone who doesn't need it to survive. The mistake many people make is thinking that if they're disliked, it automatically means they're unworthy. But being disliked is inevitable. No matter how kind, generous, or thoughtful you are, someone won't vibe with you. Maybe your humor is too dry for them. Maybe your values clash. Maybe you remind them of someone from their past. Whatever the reason, their disapproval is not a mirror of your flaws. It's simply a sign that you're not their person. Confidence allows you to hold that truth without collapsing. It allows you to say, "That's okay. Not everyone will choose me, but the right person will." And here's the secret: when you stop chasing universal approval, you not only protect your self-worth, you also become more selective. You stop asking, "Do they like me?" and start asking, "Do I actually like them? Are they good for me? Do they fit into the kind of life I want?" That shift puts you back in control. Instead of being a performer on stage waiting for applause, you become a chooser evaluating whether someone is aligned with your truth. That's real power. That's real confidence. So when we talk about love, confidence isn't just a nice bonus, it's a necessity. Because without it, you'll constantly bend and break yourself trying to hold on to approval. With it, you can weather rejection without losing yourself. You can show up fully knowing that not everyone will stay, but trusting that the right one will. And when that right one arrives, they won't be falling for a watered down, agreeable version of you. They'll be falling for the real you, the you that stood firm, The you that wasn't afraid of disapproval, the you that knew your value whether others recognized it or not. Confidence, then, is the quiet strength that makes love real. It's the armor that protects you from chasing validation. It's the magnet that draws the right people in. And it's the foundation that ensures that when love arrives, it's not built on fear or performance, but on truth and security. To find real love, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be universally adored. You simply need the confidence to stand in your truth, knowing that being disliked isn't the end of the world. It's the path to the kind of love that truly matters. When we think about lasting love, most of us imagine it as this magical connection where two people just fit. We dream of effortless harmony, constant admiration, and a partner who always sees us in the best possible light. And because of that dream, many people end up performing in relationships. They try to present the version of themselves they think their partner wants. They hide their rough edges, silence their needs, and exaggerate their strengths, all in the hope that if they keep performing well enough, they'll be loved forever. But the love built this way is fragile because it rests on a performance. It's not rooted in truth, and anything not rooted in truth eventually falls apart. Real love isn't about impressing someone with your best side all the time. Real love is about showing up as you are, with your strengths and your weaknesses, and trusting that the person who's right for you will choose you in your entirety. Pretending can get you temporary affection, but it cannot create intimacy. You can fake charm, you can fake agreement, you can fake perfection for a while, but you cannot fake closeness. Closeness comes from being real. It comes from allowing yourself to be seen without the mask, and that requires courage, the courage to risk being disliked in the short term so you can be loved for a lifetime. Imagine building a house on sand. No matter how beautiful the walls, no matter how strong the paint, if the foundation isn't solid, the house will eventually collapse. That's what happens when love is built on performance. At first, everything may look picture perfect. Your partner might adore you because you seem endlessly agreeable, always accommodating, never difficult. But as time goes on, the cracks begin to show, because no one can keep up a performance forever. Sooner or later, your real needs will surface, your true opinions will slip out, your quirks and imperfections will reveal themselves. And when they do, the person who fell in love with your performance will feel betrayed. Not because you did anything wrong, but because they were never given the chance to know the real you in the first place. Contrast that with building a house on rock. When the foundation is solid, storms can come and the house will still stand. That foundation in relationships is truth. When you allow yourself to be seen fully from the start, when you share your boundaries, your desires, your flaws, and your values, you give someone the opportunity to make an informed choice about loving you. They're not falling for a performance, they're falling for a person. And that means when conflict arises, when you make mistakes, when life gets messy, the love doesn't crumble because it was never built on illusion. It was built on reality. One of the biggest myths in love is that if we show our flaws, we'll lose the relationship. But the opposite is true. Hiding your flaws ensures that love will always be conditional. Revealing them gives love the chance to be unconditional. Think about it. If your partner only loves you when you're agreeable, easygoing, and polished, then you're living in fear. You're always wondering, what happens if I stop performing? What happens if I let them see the parts of me that aren't perfect? That anxiety eats away at you. But if your partner loves you even after seeing the messy, imperfect, authentic parts of you, that's when you finally feel safe. That's when you know you've found the real thing. Love that lasts is not about two people avoiding conflict, never disagreeing, or always pretending to like the same things. Love that lasts is about two people being honest enough to disagree, strong enough to voice their boundaries, and secure enough to weather discomfort together. Without honesty, there's no trust. Without trust, there's no intimacy. And without intimacy, love is nothing more than temporary attraction. This is why being disliked is such an important part of finding real love. If you're unwilling to risk disapproval, you'll never be able to show up authentically. And if you can't show up authentically, you'll never know whether someone loves you for you, or for the version of you you created for them. But when you risk being disliked, when you say, "This is who I am, and I'd rather you see it now than be misled," you filter out the people who are only attracted to your performance. and what you're left with are the people who are attracted to your truth. It's easy to mistake chemistry or infatuation for love. But chemistry can exist even when two people are completely incompatible. Infatuation can feel intoxicating, but it fades when the truth comes out. What sustains love isn't the fireworks of the first few months, it's the steady fire of two people who know each other deeply and choose each other anyway. And you only get there by being real. This is why you must stop performing. Stop saying yes when you mean no. Stop pretending to like things you don't. Stop hiding your true feelings for fear of rocking the boat. Because every time you do, you're not just deceiving your partner, you're betraying yourself. And self-betrayal is the surest way to kill love. When you betray yourself, resentment builds, and resentment is like poison to a relationship. But when you live in truth, something powerful happens. Even when conflict arises, you can resolve it with honesty. Even when your partner dislikes something about you, you can trust that their love is strong enough to hold it. Even when things get messy, you know the relationship isn't built on sand. That's the kind of love that grows deeper over time instead of shallower. So if you want love that lasts, let go of the illusion that you need to be perfect or universally adored. Let go of the performance. Let go of the fear of being disliked. Because the love that's meant for you will never require you to shrink, to hide, or to pretend. It will only require you to show up as yourself, fully and unapologetically. And that's the greatest freedom of all. Because in the end, lasting love is not about finding someone who applauds your performance. It's about finding someone who sees your truth and still chooses to stay. And the only way to give them that chance is by being brave enough to stop performing and start living in the honesty that real love demands.